Hi everybody. All right, we are back for number 2 of the Netflix special of our duo, and this is a doozy. So let's just jump right in and get there. Just a bit of information at the beginning. As you can see, they're sitting in this beautiful house. Isn't that just lovely? And doesn't Meghan Markle have the best taste in decor? Woo! And then, of course, you find out that that's not their house. That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. That is a rental, or now it's up for sale. So, yeah, they didn't film in their house. Just an FYI. All right, here we go. We're going to get started on part 2. It starts off, security, November 2021, and they're in the car, and they're looking around, they're talking about a pap on the scooter. We're being papped. Poor Harry is going, where's paparazzi? It was embarrassing. If there was paparazzi following them, chasing them, all you had to do was turn one of the multiple cameras in the car towards the person on the scooter. Instead, security's like, yes, ma'am, he's ahead, he's here, he's there. There was no pap. Sorry. Then, of course, they immediately switched to Diana again and the pictures of the paps chasing her. Harry's looking around, paranoid. Then Harry starts talking and he said, part of the problem is the harassment that went on online. We're the hunted. It's the hunter versus the prey. We're the prey. The magazine are the hunters. Then they, switch to Doria. Now, it almost looks like she's rehearsing her lines there. You can see her mouth moving. She's rehearsing her lines. She goes, I'm ready to be heard. All right. She says, I knew the first time I met Harry, he was the one for her. Well, I'm pretty sure she probably said the same thing when she met Trev. Then they go back to the paps again and the paparazzi and all the horrible things. And then they start talking about all of her charity work, what a wonderful person she did, and all of these things. And she goes, everything was great. They all said wonderful things. And then all of a sudden it changed. They said, she came out of a flower shop and there were paps. She said there were 10, 12 of them and they were standing in the road. I'm sorry. If there had been a swarm of paparazzi, there would have been a picture of the swarm of paparazzi. We've seen this with Diana and the other people. I think one person might have been there, maybe two, and they took a picture of her. And of course, as she's walking down the road, she's playing with her hair. There you go. So then one of Meghan's friends is on there talking about how bad the UK media are and how intrusive they are. But the photos that they're showing are at Harry and Meghan at a sanctioned event walking into the venue. So of course they're going to be having their photos taken. Now at this time, Meghan claims that her house is surrounded by men just waiting to, get a photo of her, and this is their proof. It is a picture of a parked car, which appears to be empty. Then she says they knocked on all the neighbors' doors, and the neighbors got paid to put up cameras. Now look at that camera. You see, it's white with the black camera, and you see how thin it is? That is a specific brand of camera, and that is absolutely identical to these cameras that you're about to see hanging by her front door, part of the security system that was installed by the people who hired her for suits. So I believe the photos she showed you were her own security cameras. That would make that a lie. Now with that, she says, I called the Toronto police and they said they couldn't do anything for her because of who she was dating. That's what she claims. And she said, what, am I just supposed to live like this? Well, it's not illegal to be on a public street unless she's being threatened. I'm sure their hands were tied. But I believe the police now are probably going to have some sort of a statement. But I did also find this article. This article is from 2017, where it says the police went to her because of her concerns for heightened public profile may be a security issue, and she now had a police car parked outside her home. So at this point, Megan's like, my life was so insulated and I had to keep my blinds drawn and everybody was talking about me online. Basically, she was getting free publicity. This is Rachel Zane from Suits. So now they're driving around and they're looking where they used to live. And the idea behind this is to show you that she came from humble beginnings. And of course, the racism card was immediately thrown out there. We all knew they were going to go there. If they're not talking about the paparazzi, they're talking about racism. Megan said people would approach her mother in the grocery store and ask where the mother was of the child because she had to be the nanny. If you think that a child is with a nanny, you don't say, where's the mom? Number one. Number two, we've seen the pictures of her as a baby with her ethnic hair, before she had her teeth capped, before she had her nose job. I'm sorry, I call BS on that story. And Doria says, there was such a wonderful network of women in this area where I lived with Meg, and they helped me raise her. So I'm going to take umbrage with that, because while Megan did live with her mother during the week and saw her father on the weekends, by middle school, that had changed. And she lived full-time with her dad and saw Doria some weekends, and her dad took care of her all the way through high school. So no, Doria was not solely responsible. And if you go back through the TIG, Megan had nothing but wonderful things to say about her father and the way he raised her. And there's no mention, really, of her mom. And of course, according to Doria, Megan was just the best child in the world. Now, at this point, they actually go back to the private elementary school that Megan attended from age 2 to 12. Now, remember, this was a very expensive school at the same time that she had written to the Senate, saying that they could barely eat, and she survived on the all-you-could-eat salad bar at the Sizzler because they were so poor. Remember that? Here's a picture of her on the tram at Disneyland in California. You can see it in the background. There's the monorail train. They weren't poor. She said, oh my God, she brought up the dishwashing commercial. I didn't think we were going to hear that story for the 200,000th time. But yes, she brought up the dishwashing commercial. I was beyond stunned. Then she says, and I would see my dad in the afternoons when I went on the set with Married with Children. Okay. Then, of course, here it comes, racism. We knew that was going to happen. The first time I ever heard the N-word was when a woman yelled at it at my mom. I had never heard of that before. And I'm thinking, you grew up in California, in the United States, and you're going to, in a country that's well known for its racism, and you're going to claim that you had never heard the N-word and you knew nothing about that growing up. It's not true. Then Harry came back on and once again referenced that article from 5 years ago where it said that Harry's girl is almost straight out of Compton. It's like there were 50 gazillion good articles, but they're going to focus on the one bad. This is typical. She said that as things got worse for her, the palace kept saying, just say no comment, just say no comment. And Harry goes, they're claiming that was a rite of passage because of what happened to Diana and what happened to Fergie and what happened to Catherine. And they show photos of them really being harassed by the paparazzi. They're swarming around. And he goes, but look at what they did to Meghan. And they show all these pictures of Meghan peacefully walking down the street. There's nobody in her face. There's no people swarm. She doesn't have to do like Diana did and said, oh, look out, look out, look out. Or Catherine, please back up. Let me get in my car. None of that's going on with Meghan, but they want you to think that it was. Harry goes, but this is different from what they went through because there's a race element. Now, it's at this time that Harry said she was suffering so much racial abuse that I put out a statement and basically told them to back off. And then, here we go. The tabloids are a white industry, and it's all about the whites, and all the reporters are white, which is not true. Yeah, it kind of got, again, I'm sitting there going, this is disgusting, and you're looking for racism where there might not even have been any. Then it jumps to the NAACP awards, and there's Meghan being all dolled up, and And Harry goes, I'd been around to the Commonwealth. I thought I understood diversity. I thought I understood everything. But then I met Meghan and I understood that I was living in an insulated bubble. I didn't know anything. So Meghan actually says that her parents co-parented well, whereas Harry kind of infers that his parents did not. She well out admits that she was a daddy's girl who spent a lot of time with her father, which is in contrast to all the horrible things Omid Scobie had said about Meghan's dad. Now, it's at this point that they start whining again about the paparazzi. But again, all the pictures of Meghan, nobody's bothering her, nobody's swarming around her. And we have controversy again, because as you can see, they used this picture, which is supposed to be paparazzi taking a photo of her in Toronto outside the Suits studio. But once again, that's a lie. That is a stock photo available for purchase online. I do not believe she was being hounded the way she wants you to think she was. So they're flying back and forth, and she said, I would land there, get harassed, go in, hunker down. Does this look like anybody's harassing her to you? Because I don't see it. Harry then puts up this picture and says that dating became car chases and anti-surveillance driving. Interesting, because as you can see, this picture was taken when they were actually headed to Buckingham Palace. For a pre-Christmas lunch, nobody was chasing them. Then one of her friends comes on and talks about she had a good set of core friends before H. Now, the reason they're bringing that up is because of the fact it's been pointed out that she has trouble hanging on to her friends. She uses people, she throws them away. So they're trying to show you that she has friends and she's had them for a long time. So that's wrong. It's wrong. Then she essentially throws shade at the whole family, but mainly Catherine and William. She says, when I met them, they were so stiff and I didn't realize that formality is at all times, even in private. And she basically insinuated the same for Charles and the Queen. She goes, I'm a hugger and they're just not. But of course, we've seen lots of pictures of everybody hugging, especially Catherine. She's very big on reaching out and hugging people, I might add, including Meghan. Then, of course, she tells the story of the curtsy. I didn't know how to curtsy. I thought it was a joke. I thought this whole thing was a joke. And then, now, of course, the last story she gave was that they pulled out front and practiced and went in and she did it great. Now, of course, she says, this is really how I did it. And okay, so the story has changed. We knew that was coming. And then it's said that the royal family had a preconceived notion about Meghan and she was quote unquote typecast because she was an actress. So on the one hand, they're saying that she was really fabulous and he was like, oh, they didn't think I could get somebody that good. And then on the other hand, Harry goes, this was typecast and they just didn't think this was going to last. And they start talking about when Meghan was growing up and when Meghan was going to school and when Meghan was going out for jobs, nobody knew she was biracial. What does that tell you? On the sheet that she was giving out as an actress where she was saying, this is my height, this is my weight. She identified on there as white. I've told you that before. Because if she identified as biracial, they would have known that she was biracial. Instead, her agent gets on there and says, they didn't know she was biracial. They didn't know she was biracial because she didn't tell anybody she was biracial because she did not identify as black at that time. Here's her own agent saying, once I found out she was black, I would send her out for black roles. So when she says nobody treated me as a black woman until I was in the UK, that's because nobody knew she was black. She didn't tell anybody. Now, going back to the family, Harry did say that because Meghan was an actress, the family treated her differently because they didn't think it was going to last. And she said the family typecast her. Another slap at the family. Then they brought up the TIG because we know that while she shut it down, she's trying to reopen it. So, of course, it has to have a plug. All right, then they talk about she got the Suits role, Zayn, and that how wonderful the cast was, and she was the glue that held them together. Now, I find that interesting because, of course, when she got married, none of the Suits cast was invited to the after party, only to the wedding. It was the A-listers that she invited to her wedding reception that night, not her cast members that she was supposedly so close to. Now, next, they brought up the UN speech again. But what they didn't tell you was that Eleanor Roosevelt in 1951 gave a speech. And here's a short little transcript of what she said. And Meghan changed a word and said it, effectively plagiarizing. Here it is.
Because it isn't enough to simply talk about equality. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to simply believe in it. One must work at it.
She also claimed that she got a standing ovation, but as you can see from this video, that's also a lie. Then they bring up her trip to Rwanda. And you start seeing all these pictures of her. Remember, we showed the pictures of her, the people in the glasses holding the light source so that these impromptu photos could be just perfect. Remember that when she went to Africa, she insisted on flying first class. She flew first class. She took a fashion photographer with her. And she seemed to just love being around these children until the video came out that showed she was actually kind of repulsed by them. Yeah. Now, there's going to be those people that say, that's not real, that's not true. Well, there's Meghan smiling. You see the boy in the green shirt very clearly, and she knows she's being photoed. Your photographer, you know what I'm saying. But then all of a sudden, there's the same boy, and she looks absolutely disgusted. Yep. Of course, it jumps to the proposal. Now, remember, the initial story was she was cooking a chicken. He got down on one knee in the kitchen, and she said yes before he had a chance to even finish the proposal. Now we know she knew about the proposal. She called her friend. She had her friend, I believe, on the phone, and she took a picture of him in the garden on one knee, and so the whole thing had changed. And by the way, the picture is there of the dog with his two broken legs. They have yet to explain to anybody how Bogart broke both of his legs. The other dog had been dumped in Canada because he didn't like Harry. And they didn't even try therapy or any way to get the dog to like Harry. She just dumped that dog off, went off to the UK with Bogart, who promptly broke both legs, and we've never heard an explanation how he broke both of his legs. Now, it was at this time that the whole UK was excited. Now, I know that Harry said they weren't, or, they were all racist and everything, but as you can see from these pictures, the UK accepted her, loved her. They had nothing but good press, positive headlines. Everything was going their way. And then Misa Harriman, Meghan's favorite photographer who worked with Sister Space, yes, that charity, comes on and says this is the first time that anybody of color in the UK was really felt like they were seen. Then it jumps to the UK immigration issues. What people were upset about was that there were illegal immigrants that were literally pouring into the UK. They weren't being vetted. Nobody knew where they came from. And people that lived there were upset. They wanted only legal immigrants, which, you can't really blame them. The crime rate was rising. It was out of control. So Harry immediately references a report put out by the EU that basically says we need to get everything under control. And Harry's like, it's a race war, Brexit, and he blames Brexit on racism. I was stunned. Talk about trying to look for racism. I'm telling you. Even Meghan Markle posted something on the TIG or on her Instagram before she had to shut it down. So anyway, the engagement photos came out. Meghan's wearing like a $100,000 dress with a sheer top. Imagine them trying to take photos without showing her, let's not go there. Anyway, the insinuation made was that we didn't know if the paparazzi was going to be able to contain themselves, if they were going to be nice, if they weren't going to make, I don't know, racist comments. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then they end the video by her saying, no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, they're going to find a way to destroy me. So that's the end of number 2. And what I got from that is it's all racism and the royal family didn't like me. Racism and the royal family didn't like me. Oh, and the paparazzi are out of control. Oh, and Brexit caused my issues also. Again, you guys shouldn't bother to click. It's a waste of your time. I really feel like I'm wasting my time. All right, next up from you guys will be number 3. Now, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with the royal family, and I will catch up with that after I've watched the 3rd episode and done the 3rd video. Then I will go back and try to catch up on the royal family stuff for you, okay? So don't forget to hit that button and subscribe. You know you want to. Don't forget to leave those comments below. Don't forget to go into the description box where the links are for my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, my Patreon. If you've donated money through my coffee fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. It has not yet turned into an alcohol fund. Not yet. And as always, you guys, have a great day.